Hello and welcome back to another episode of Generation Films. My name is American Ben. In my last video on parasites, I spoke about tropes in science fiction, explaining that certain plot devices, lore, and other elements are repeated across the genre from one franchise to another. Well, another trope is ancient races. Usually these precursor races are made up of all-powerful beings who create life in the universe and then disappear because of some sort of cataclysmic event. Unfortunately, given their mysterious nature, not a lot is known about many of these races, and with that there's little video or picture evidence of them. Meaning this video was hard to edit, but speaking from the past, I tried my best to use my imagination. First, some quick business to get out of the way. On our Instagram page at The Generation Films, we just announced our first caption contest winner, a proud soldier of humanity who is now $50 richer for his valiance in the face of the Xeno Horde. And there's now a new contest up on our page. We are asking that you caption this image, once again for the chance to win a $50 Amazon gift card. As always, you must be following us in order to win. Now back to your regularly scheduled programming. I give you the most powerful ancient races in science fiction. First up on our ancient races list, we have the Old Ones from 40K. Millions of Terran years before the Emperor rose to glory, hallowed be his name. Sometime shortly before the birth of Jimmy Carter, an ancient race of intelligent beings emerged in the Milky Way galaxy and formed an interstellar empire. This race, which later came to be known as the Old Ones, is thought to be the oldest sentient race in the galaxy, and they were certainly the first to accomplish interstellar travel. Not much is known about the Old Ones' form or abilities, but Eldar mythology states that they were reptilian beings who were endowed with incredible psychic powers, allowing them to easily master reality around them. The Old Ones were highly intelligent and highly advanced, and it is believed that they are the creators of the Webway, a path that leads through the treacherous warp filled with the armies of chaos, and it is even thought that the Old Ones created many of the intelligent races that are seen in the 41st millennium, including the Eldar and yes, the primate ancestors of humans. The Old Ones had wanted to cultivate life and spread races through the universe to raise benevolent empires. However, the enemies of the Old Ones forced their hands, if they had hands, to create species that could help them fight their wars. It was an ancient feud with an even older race of beings known as the Catan, star-eating gods formed from swirling energy at the creation of the universe, that led to the downfall of the Old Ones. The Catan, allied with the Necrontyr, the precursors to the powerful Necrons, led an onslaught on the Old Ones and their armies. Despite the godlike opposition, the Old Ones might have emerged victorious in this war in heaven had it not been for the destabilization of the warp, which led to the demons of chaos spilling out into real space. The Old Ones retreated either unto extinction or to the far reaches of the cosmos in order to recover, and have been lost to the Milky Way galaxy ever since. As for why I didn't include the Catan themselves on this list, well, I can't respect you if you get enslaved by aliens, even if they're Necrons, who could probably defeat Superman. Next up, we have the Ring Builders from the Expanse. Over 2 billion years before the events in the Expanse began, the Ring Builders built a vast interstellar empire that spread across the Milky Way galaxy. Milky Way. Not much is known about the Ring Builders' form, but it has been suggested that they had no physical form and were but some sort of ethereal consciousness. Their technological achievements were far greater than what humans had achieved by their extrasolar era. They created the One Ring to rule them all. Wrong franchise. I mean, they created the proto-molecule, a free-floating and free-forming self-replicating system that could harness energy around it in order to grow and spread a network of ring gates throughout the galaxy which the Ring Builders could use for FTL travel. FTL-capable ships are small-brain inventions. An FTL gate network? That's big brain stuff. Ring Builder structures like the ruins on LS4 cannot be fully understood or explained by humans as they operate using laws of physics and reality unknown to man. Humans might be able to see and interact with Ring Builder creations, but what they're seeing isn't necessarily what is. The Ring Builders were eventually wiped out by some sort of unknown aggressor, possibly an equally powerful alien species who saw the ring gates as a threat and may have been able to defeat the Ring Builders' superlunary forms using their own special ability to shut down consciousness. Might have been orcs who just created a gun that they decided could do so. Next up is the Alterans from Stargate, a species hailing from the planet Celestic in a galaxy far from the Milky Way millions of years ago. The Alterans eventually split into two factions: the Ancients, who were latte-drinking hipsters who defended the dark arts of science, and the Ori, who were the goat-sacrificing religious extremists. Both of these groups left their home galaxy, with the Ancients arriving at the Milky Way. Milky Way. And seeding it with life. The Alterans, like every other race on this list, were highly advanced and intelligent. Perhaps most notably, the Ancients built the Stargates, a series of devices that can generate wormholes that allow for FTL travel across space. The Ancients have taken on a humanoid form, but don't get confused. They are ascended beings who exist on a higher plane of reality and have knowledge and abilities that humans and other species, including the Goa'uld, who are powerful relative to humans, can only imagine. Ancients are often capable of telekinesis, telepathy, precognition, and even sometimes have healing powers. These abilities are translated into their technology, as Ancients have built advanced healing tools and devices capable of FTL communication. And the term made by Alterans has become synonymous with durability, as their technology and other products have been known to last for millions of years with little hint of deterioration. One interesting thing about the Alterans is that they believe in this silly little idea called free will, which forces them to respect the rights of others to make their own decisions. This is why they didn't interfere with the Ori's religious practices or attempt to brainwash them out of their beliefs. Next up, we have the Leviathans from Mass Effect, an ancient aquatic squid-like race. The massive Leviathans are definitely alien supremacists, as they see themselves as the galaxy's most superior race, and to be fair, they were first and there is no record of them ever eating Tide Pods. Leviathans believe other races exist to serve them, tools to be used at their will. Not much is known about early Leviathan history, but it is thought that very early on in their existence they learned to communicate with and came to dominate some sort of land-based sapient race. Using this species as slaves, the Leviathans achieved FTL spaceflight and spread across the galaxy, enslaving any species they came into contact with. Often these enslaved species would build robots to help them in their labors, and these synthetics would rebel from time to time, killing off their creators, which in the eyes of the Leviathans was bad for business. As a master race, it wasn't good PR for them no matter how good the health benefits they offered were. As a safeguard against synthetic rebellion, the Leviathans designed an intelligence coded to preserve life at all costs. What could go wrong? However, the intelligence ended up concluding that the existence of the Leviathans was a threat to life, and thus had to be eliminated. Never send artificial intelligence to fight artificial intelligence, my friends. They're on the same side. On that note, anyone else feel like Mac OS and Windows are two parts of a single key that once merged will form a superweapon that wipes out mankind? Just me. Anyway, this intelligence ended up building an army of pawns that wiped out the Leviathans, with the few surviving Leviathans going into hiding. Meanwhile, the pawns used the genetic material of the slaughtered Leviathans to build the first Reaper, known as Harbinger, which the intelligence used to begin the cyclical harvest of the galaxy species in order to create more Reapers and accomplish its mission to preserve life.
There are a bunch of ancient species in Star Wars that are quite important and have had a huge impact in the overall development of the galaxy. But no other species had a bigger impact than the degenerate Rakatans. We'll take a quick look at their accidental rise and spectacular fall. You see, the Rakatans were not destined for greatness. They were a primitive species obsessed with war and cannibalism. The species as a whole actually had a natural affinity for the dark side of the Force, which is never really a great sign when you're looking to judge a species by their cover. Now, the Rakatans were busy murdering and killing each other, but one day the Qua came along. The Qua were a benevolent and advanced species of aliens who traveled the galaxy via infinity gates. They were basically Stargates that worked on the Force. The Qua were basically like the billionaire philanthropists of our own world. They basically traveled from planet to planet and then help uplift the indigenous species by giving them advanced technology or even teaching them how to use the Force. The Qua were a kind species but completely naive, and once they taught the Rakatans their secrets and trained them in the Force, the vicious aliens quickly overthrew them and tried to use their infinity gates to jump to another world and take it over. Eventually, the Rakatans would succeed in establishing an empire that spread across most of the known galaxy. They would use great war machines powered by the dark side of the Force and travel from world to world enslaving, conquering, raping, cannibalizing, in no specific order. They were such a terrible bunch that a plague eventually hit their species and ripped them from the Force, which meant that none of their starships were usable anymore. And just like that, the Rakatans faded away into obscurity. Well, Rakata's legacy is pretty unexpected. You see, through the course of their conquest of the galaxy, they enslaved all sorts of species and ended up spreading those slaves to different worlds. When their empire collapsed, it was the slaves that would inherit their territory. And to this day, most of the demographics of core worlds reflected the original slaves that were left on those planets. One of the first worlds the Rakatans took over was Coruscant, homeworld of humanity. It was the Rakatans who would help spread humanity across several planets before even the Old Republic was founded or the hyperdrive invented.
Next up is the Xel'Naga from Starcraft. As the Protoss tell it, the Xel'Naga originated in the Void, a dark dimension of space separate from the material universe. Xel'Naga are unspeakably powerful. They understand the connection between energy, essence, and information, and can convert material from one of these states to another. They exercise complete control over their reality. Though possessing great power, unfathomable intelligence, and psionic abilities, the Xel'Naga were from their beginning peaceful and benevolent, and set out to cultivate and study the evolution of sentient life in the universe. The Xel'Naga are very long-lived, but just short of immortal, and eventually foresaw their own demise. In order to perpetuate their race, they took on physical forms, entered the material universe, and seeded it with life. They used special crystals to carefully cultivate the races they created, directing and documenting their evolution every step of the way. This began a cycle in which the Xel'Naga would enter the universe and create two species, one embodying purity of essence and the other embodying purity of form. Together, over eons, these species would evolve and eventually emerge to form a new generation of Xel'Naga, and then start this process known as the Infinite Cycle over again. The Xel'Naga designed the cycle in such a way that the two species would naturally find their way to Ulnar, a massive temple where the Xel'Naga rested in the interim. There they would awaken the slumbering Xel'Naga, who would give their essence to the two species, thus creating the new Xel'Naga. Some Xel'Naga abhorred the Infinite Cycle though, believing that they were using the conflict of others for their own benefit. In the last instance of the cycle, under the leadership of a powerful Xel'Naga known as Aemon, a renegade faction of Xel'Naga rose up, seeking to put an end to the cycle by destroying all life and creating a new perfect universe in Aemon's image, free of the cycle. As the Xel'Naga slumbered, waiting for their engineered species to arrive at Ulnar, Aemon and his followers interfered with the development of two species, the Protoss and Zerg, forcibly instilling them with purity of form and purity of essence respectively, and advancing their evolution. Disturbed from their slumber by Aemon's operations, the Xel'Naga waged war on Aemon, who in turn released the Zerg and killed most of them. Ultimately, Aemon was defeated, but his work would continue in secret by his surviving followers, and he would return again. Hashtag Aemon did nothing wrong. Finally, we have the Precursors from Halo, perhaps the most complex ancient race. The Precursors originated from outside of the Milky Way galaxy and arrived here billions of years ago. They had no fixed physical form and would take whatever shape necessary for their current environment, whether physical or immaterial. They didn't completely exist in the universe actually. Their minds operated in many different realms at once. It would be easy to say that the Precursors were an advanced race, but it isn't quite that simple because they allowed themselves to die off and be re-evolved over and over again. Thus, they experienced the different stages of societal development over and over again as well, and sometimes they were highly technologically advanced and interstellar capable, and other times they lived primitively and stayed on their origin planets. The Precursor philosophy was rooted in three principles: the mantle, living time, and neural physics. The mantle deemed the Precursors the benevolent stewards of all life in the universe, and thus made them responsible for protecting and cultivating life and harmony in the universe. They thus created millions of solar systems and seeded the Milky Way galaxy with life. The core idea of the principle of living time was that struggle, competition, and war were not necessarily at odds with the harmony of the universe. Obviously, this somewhat conflicts with the idea of the Precursors as benevolent protectors, but they simply believed that war and pain were natural parts of life, and that only too much destruction could cause an imbalance in the universe worth correcting. Finally, the principle of neural physics stated that the entire universe is living, but not in a way that is comprehensible to biological organisms. By understanding this principle, Precursors could harness neurophysical energy that enabled them to manipulate the fabric of the universe. From this energy, the Precursors built their technology and structures, and as such, their artifacts were indestructible and could last for billions of years. This is why evidence of their creation still exists scattered throughout the galaxy. As the Precursors carried out their philosophy and seeded the galaxy with life, they would judge whether species were worthy of the mantle or not, looking for a successor to inherit the role of guardians of all life. The Precursors originally chose a humanoid species known as the Forerunners, whom the Precursors created to be their assistants to inherit the mantle. However, at least as a Forerunner will tell you, they eventually deemed the Forerunners unworthy and planned to destroy them. Instead, humanity was chosen as the successor. The Forerunners, powerful beings themselves, discovered the Precursors' plot to wipe them out and waged war against them, killing most of them off. The Precursors disappeared from the galaxy, leaving only hints of their existence behind through their artifacts, which included something called the Domain, which was an esoteric quantum information repository that housed the entirety of the Precursors' knowledge accumulated over 100 billion years. And that's the story of the most powerful ancient races in science fiction. Definitely comment down below with the races that I missed, with the races that should have been on this list that I failed to include. Give the video a like if you did enjoy it at all. Remember to subscribe to our channel, hit that notification bell. For now, my name is American Ben, and I'll catch you next time. Generation Films, peace.